Welcome back, everyone, to the Manga Monday show again on Webstream. I know last time we said we are gonna do it in person, but you know us by this point, we just can't keep our promises, and neither can we, neither can we be up to date all the time because we just broke our streak of having episodes on Monday. We're still gonna do
Yeah.
Monday. Just stuff happened, life happens, and we just weren't able to keep up, to the schedule. But we'll be making it up. We're still gonna put this out, this episode for you, and then the next episode will be on Monday as usual. Other than that, today's subject is gonna just be one big topic. Ben's got something special for us.
Yes.
What do you got for us, Ben?
Today we have Shonen Sensei tier list. So
Okay.
today I just whooped up a nice little tier list. As you can see, I got just a nice background that I set up and everything. It looks fantastic. Let us know if you like this kind of style. I just thought that the old style, the normal tier list style, kind of looked boring. Um, so yeah, I just was like, why don't we just shake it up today? I'll do something awesome with the manga studio that I use, and I was like, yeah, we'll go with that. So yeah, today we're just going to talk about Shonen Senseis. Before we get started, make sure you hit like, hit subscribe, go check out all the stuff, check out our podcast channels, all that stuff. Manga Monday show always comes out almost every Monday. This was the only
Yeah,
Monday that we've really
it would.
missed.
I
Uh,
wish we could say every Monday now, but we've.
well, I mean, sometimes life happens, and as long as we do every week, it's fine. And we've gotten content to you, so no biggie.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just doing something short this week. Next week, we promise we'll be back with the news. We know Attack on Titan had some huge news come out that enraged a lot of fans. We'll definitely be talking about that a lot next week. So be sure to check all that stuff out. Go into my own personal channel. I just started watching episode 5 of Death Note. A lot of fun.
Yay.
Um, so yeah, we've been having just a absolute great time with that. So yeah, let's get this started. The way that I chose this is, have they been called? I had three stipulations. Have they been called master by a character multiple times in the show, but it actually like means something, right? You know that there's those stupid shows with like, oh, master, and he's like, what? I have done nothing to prove, Um, and then number two is, have they taught something to the main character that has completely changed the plot, right? Has they
Yeah.
have a flashback that has made them go, whoa, okay, like I remember this moment that my sensei said, so maybe I shouldn't do this. Um, and then the third stipulation was, is it in their name? Sensei blank, Muten
Blank.
blank. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So those were the three stipulations I had. This is going to be solely based off of their teachability or their master ability. So how well are they able to teach their students? How well are they able
Not how
to,
strong they are, really.
yeah, yeah. We were talking a little bit earlier that we think that there's going to be a trend that shows up, but we'll tell you when it starts to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but let's get started with probably the most iconic of all of them, I would probably say, and that is Muten Roshi, Master Roshi
Could
from.
you pull up the thing? I can't see it on my end.
Oh, yes, that's right. Oh, my goodness.
I'm pretty sure everyone else can see
Yeah,
it, but I
everybody
can't.
else. Oh, I forgot to show my screen with Edgar. Hold on, guys, and then I gotta close this.
All right.
No, confirm. There you go. How's that, bud?
I can. Perfect.
Great, great.
There you go, Mr. Baldy of the upper something. I don't know.
Of the
Roshi.
Mr. Baldy of the upper echelons.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. Hold
This is
on.
probably the coolest picture there is of him because I always see him as like with the shades on and like him being pervy or with like a nosebleed or something like that.
No, yeah, he definitely is 1 billion% most of the time. Very pervy looking. However, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes he can be very cool, and the first ever Kamehameha was from Master Roshi.
Really?
Very fascinating, right? Yeah.
So he shows up in the original Dragon Ball.
Yes. So we're going to be taking into account, since Dragon Ball has about like I don't know, like a billion different series, like four, we're going to be taking masters from the three main ones because Goku has a lot of senseis. It's kind of a meme that he he never makes his own techniques. He always learns it or steals it from somebody else.
No
You know?
originality.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, but I think that it's so the first person we ever see do the Kamehameha was Master Roshi, and one of the most fascinating things about Dragon Ball was the switch from it being an adventure manga to a martial arts manga, which I think is just such a good artistic choice from Akira Toriyama. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people say that Dragon Ball, the OG, is the best of all of Dragon Ball, which is kind of hard to argue with. Um, and Master Roshi, he came in and he is the reason why that change happened. He is the master. He's the person who taught Goku all of this stuff. One of the best arcs in Dragon Ball is the first ever Tenkaichi Budokai, and Master Roshi dressed up as Jackie Chan, and he was afraid that if Goku or Krillin won this tournament, they would feel that they've peaked as martial artists, and they would get egotistical. So the old man dressed up, and he laid down the law on Goku and Krillin, beating them both in the tournament, Krillin in the quarterfinals and Goku in the finals. And Master Roshi taught these kids that they still have a lot to learn. And that, like, still even today, even the movies that you've seen, Edgar hasn't seen all of Dragon Ball, but he have seen the recent Super movies. Even today, Dragon Ball is all about trying to better yourself as a fighter, as a martial artist. There's always someone better out there. There's always someone out there who can beat you, so you should never stop improving. And it was Master Roshi who brought that in. So for me personally, I think he's the top of S tier. I think he is the master. He is the shonen master, in my opinion. But yeah.
I have no, yeah, I can't really say much because I don't know anything. I'm just gonna take Ben's word for it. If
Yeah.
y'all think that's a hot take, go ahead and put that in the comments.
Destroy
But
me.
I'm gonna take his word for it here and trust him.
Okay, great.
The only
Alrighty.
context I have of Roshi is him getting that massive nosebleed on then spilling it on that invisible person.
Do you know what that's from? Is that from anything?
No,
No, it's got to be
no.
from Super, right? There
Well,
had to
that's
be
like
some
I think
Super
Krillin
episode.
was there. Krillin like lifted Bulma's skirt, or he did something with Bulma.
Oh, yeah.
He did something with Bulma, and then like
That's from
Master
Dragon
Roshi
Ball.
got a humongous nosebleed, and they were trying to catch an invisible person or something
That's
like that.
right.
And then
That's
they're like,
right.
oh, there he is, cause like they were covered in blood.
Jeez. Okay. Okay, Edgar. This one's gonna have to be you, Doctor Stein
Hey,
from Soul Eater. I've read the
yeah, this is
first two volumes, so I don't know much about him, but from what I've seen, he's great.
yeah, he's very attentive with his work, and he really helps out his students. But he's on that line of like he he's kind of like iffy if like his students are in danger or not. Like
Yeah.
if they get hurt because he puts them like in situations that like I mean the first time they meet, he's like I'm gonna dissect you guys, and he literally kills Black Star. I mean not really, but he electrocutes his brain and fries it. And then like he's like constantly threatening like to dissect people. I think
Yeah.
he even like so he's kind of like a great character, and even like in the later half of the Soul Eater, there's like some iffy stuff that happens with him, but he
Yeah.
definitely cares about his students, and he knows his stuff, and he's a powerful Meister in his own right. And basically he teaches them all the basics of what it means to be a soul meister, a weapon meister, and managing your soul and all that. He's a pretty good fighter and he's a great teacher, but he has like a lot of flaws. I'd probably put him in high C or just somewhere around C for now.
Yeah. The only thing I have of of Dr. Stein is him like destroying Black Star, like that electrocution scene
Yeah.
where he's like, here,
I
you
think
go fight him.
I don't know if you read it yet, but there's like a moment where where Spirit mentions Maka's dad mentions that he's pretty sure that Stein rearranged his toes while he was sleeping.
Yeah, I've heard about
Like,
that.
yeah, that was funny.
That
So
is
he's like an odd. He's a bit of an oddball, like
right, just a
the
little bit.
silly, quirky guy. All
Yeah.
right, who we got next?
All right. Next, you're also gonna have to take this one, Edgar. This is
Yay, Bisky.
biscuit, biscuit or bisky.
Biscuit, however you want to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Zay tier.
A tier.
Yeah,
Okay.
because while she is very brief in terms of the length of the manga, she
Mm-hmm.
is absolutely essential to the power system and what she does for Gon and Killua. They don't really have moments where they think back on her, but literally everything they do moving forward changes in how they use their power in the power system in Hunter x Hunter. Literally, it's like so essential they would not be where they are as strong as they are if it isn't for her. And she goes beyond that and analyzes their
Yeah.
characters, who they are, telling them these are your mistakes and this is why you need to fix it. Otherwise, you're gonna die, or people around you are gonna die.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say too much because Hunter x Hunter is an important series that will be for Ben whenever he gets into. So I really want to refrain from like integral stuff. But I feel like others would agree that Bisky is very integral to the power system when it comes to introducing all its rules, what it means for the main characters,
Yeah.
and good quality of character and also all sorts of fun. And she's a very unique sensei master to Gon and Killua.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I don't. I mean, from what you've
That
said, I
sounds
agree.
nice, is what you're
From
saying.
what
Like
you
that
said,
sounds
I
nice.
agree. So yeah, sounds great to
You
me.
will agree.
Yeah, Edgar. Sorry, you're gonna have to take this one again. But this is Kuro Sensei.
S tier,
S
S
tier.
tier all the way.
Yeah,
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 Kuro
yeah.
Sensei
He
is a
is
def
the sensei or the teacher, not the sensei, but he's the teacher of all of manga and anime.
yeah,
Like,
he's one of the few teachers that he's one of the few senseis that's actually a teacher other than Stein.
yeah,
Because like they all their roles and they're technically like a genre type role, but
yeah.
in anime.
So
But
we've
he's like one of the
go ahead.
was that
Sorry.
no, he's one of the few that actually does his occupation is an actual teacher.
Yeah.
Um, and he is like the standard for what a teacher should be. He's also it's funny enough because he's also kind of a perv in a way, like Roshi is. Both S tiers, I guess that's the prerequisite to be in
I
the
could
S
see why
tier.
they made him an octopus then, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my God. Well, it only happens like one scene. I mean,
Okay,
nothing
okay.
happens, but it's really funny.
Yeah.
Um, but he is really hilarious. He's like practically a main character. I think he's like a main character. It's fair to say he's a main character.
Well, he is the, he is the
Yeah,
character for Assassination Classroom.
he's the face of the show. You know what I
Of
mean?
every
Literally.
volume is his face, just a
Exactly.
different
Yeah,
color.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And a lot of heartwarming moments from him. He doesn't just teach them the basics and students
Hmm.
in assassination, their skills, and the curriculum. He goes out further in helping these kids for the betterment of their own
Hmm.
personal lives and their dreams and desires. Really heartwarming man, and
Which
really
is
any
which,
yeah.
which is really interesting because the only thing I've seen of him is that he's like, if you don't kill me, I'll kill you. Like,
Yeah, because the whole shtick of the show is, I'm gonna blow. I blew up the moon, and if you can't kill me by the end of the school year, I'm gonna blow up the Earth. You know what I mean? And
wow.
everyone's like, "Oh, okay." So I mean, but he definitely does care about his students. He wouldn't exactly put him in har. He wouldn't put him in harm's way, even though with that, looming, deal that they had with the government. But
Yeah,
it's a really good story, really great teacher. I feel like if anyone's a teacher, they should definitely look to him as inspiration.
sure.
Funnily enough,
Except for the blowing up the moon part. Maybe don't do that.
yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, maybe don't do that.
Yeah, maybe.
Here, I'm gonna move this one to the side because I don't want you to have to take another one alone. uh,
And
here, we'll do this one. Um, this is
hey,
Silver's Rayleigh.
yeah, I had no idea who that is. I thought
Yeah,
it was Luffy's granddad, but I was wrong.
no, that's wrong. That is Garp. Who I guess Garp did teach Luffy a couple things, but you'll get there. You'll see. But Silver's, I don't want to talk too much about Silver's as of right now. Just know that I believe he's like an S tier character. He is fan freaking tastic. And I think he's actually very similar to how you described Bisky or Biscuit from Hunter x Hunter. He comes in, introduces a new a new thing in the story and then just kind of leaves, you know. But his backstory is really cool.
I'm out.
The stuff he introduces to Luffy is very nice. It's the first time Luffy ever had kind of a teacher kind of student.
Dude, yeah, I'm like 400 chapters in, and there's like no sensei like role
Yeah.
model in the story in the biggest shonen series in Shonen Jump. It's
Yeah.
really weird, really rare to see
Yeah.
happen because like they get introduced immediately because it's that like essential for like battle shonen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah, I completely
So I'm
agree
really
with you.
interested
It's
in see what
crazy.
he does exactly.
Yeah,
But I
and
can't. I have no.
his
Say if he sounds important.
yeah,
So
no, he definitely is, and his backstory and who he is very important for Luffy's journey. His design is awesome. Uh, in terms of what he teaches Luffy, it's probably the most important thing Luffy like probably the most important power up he ever receives is from Silver. However, the thing is that Silver's doesn't really teach, he more guides, you know, which you could argue that's what a master should do, but in terms of that, I wouldn't say that he like inflicted his philosophy, which it sounds like in our S tier, right? It sounds like
Mhm.
Muten Roshi and Kuro Sensei, it feels like that they introduced new philosophies to these students, right?
Yeah.
Like change life changing, you know.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think he did that, but in terms of like teaching and learning, I would say he's definitely up there in the A tier. Very similar to what Biscuit does in the story of Hunter x Hunter. So yeah. I just wanted to make sure we touch on some of the bigger uh, shonen senseis first, because I don't want to, because I feel like that they'll definitely form out this list. You know, the list will form around them. So Edgar, you've watched more Naruto than me, but nobody can really, you can't really you can't
He's
under
like he.
describe his like importance to shonen and anime.
Yeah, he kind of paved the way for what a modern shonen sensei is.
Yeah.
Um, and mind you, I've only seen 64 something episodes of Naruto, of original Naruto.
Yeah.
So, but I've been spoiled, unfortunately, like on a lot of integral moments, specifically involving with Kakashi. But he is like super essential to the plot and what he means to Naruto,
Yeah.
Sakura, and Sasuke. All three of them, and a great teacher and a powerful, great ninja in his own right. Um, there's like he's he's just like everyone. He's probably as popular, if not more popular than Roshi. I mean, that's probably actually probably not true, but he's
I
probably
would say
on the
same
same
level,
level
a same
on the
level.
same level
Yeah.
as Roshi, like especially for people like who started like watching anime later on first. Naruto
Yeah.
is like one of those core like starter animes that not anymore, but like not that modern, but like you know what I mean, like in 2000s, early
Yeah,
2000s.
it's the yeah, back then it was definitely the starter, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. You
Because
can't
I would
start it. It's
say
not really easy to start anymore.
yeah, I would say Dragon Ball. No, it's actually a bad starter anime nowadays, I would say. But
I think any big three is a bad starter anime.
yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I just think I never really counted Dragon Ball as a starter anime because I think people just watched it similar to how they watched cartoons. You know, there.
It's not really an anime to a lot of people.
Yeah, I know. To me, it wasn't for the longest time. For the longest time, that was the only anime and other than Yu Yu Hakusho that I watched. You know, so it was like it was just a cartoon for me. You know,
Fit
um,
how true it is, but I always hear how people who only start on Naruto after they watch something else, they always think that everything else is a Naruto copy for some
yeah,
reason.
I've heard about this. I've heard about
Yeah,
this.
so I feel like it's not really a great anime to start with, but nonetheless, Kakashi super iconic,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of he has like he also starts the trend of like the silent character, but the older sensei master who has a past. And I know a little bit about what happens with him,
Yeah.
in Naruto. That's spoiling, but he's very essential. I'd put him on A,
Yeah.
probably below. He teaches the fundamental stuff, to my knowledge, to
I'm
Naruto.
sure, like, in terms of the, like, I've seen a couple of clips from him, right? And from what I've seen, he's definitely teaching Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata. Who's the other girl? Sakura.
Sakura.
Sakura. He's definitely teaching them like new philosophies, I would say. Um,
Yeah, he also cares about them beyond what they are as a ninja, but as a person too, you know.
yeah. So I would put him top of A. I would say,
Okay.
right? Yeah, yeah. Sorry, little. I'll.
He has to fight these giants.
Yeah, he does. He's a tiny dude. He's a tiny dude. Sorry, guys. Like I said, I had to pull him straight from the internet because
Maybe
I couldn't
stretch him
find it
out, he'll
anywhere.
be like fat or something.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Edgar, take this one again. This is
Hey,
from
it's your girl,
yeah.
Roxy.
This is from
Uh,
what's it called?
Mushoku Tensei.
Yes.
Yeah. Her sensei, Nis, really only comes like in the first two chapters, but she has such a great impact, immense impact to the main character, Rudius.
Mm-hmm.
Super high regards for her. She teaches Rudius the fundamentals for magic in the world and everything, there is to know about it. And she's very, very humbling. She feels like she's not, on the same level at a certain point as the main character and feel like she has to further her own, you know, powers and her skills.
Sure.
And Rudius, throughout the entire story, even though she's not in it for a good chunk of it, he always thinks of her and regards her and calls her master. Even though she says, no, you don't have to call me master anymore because you're like we're on the same level now. And he's like, no, I'm gonna call you master. And he always holds her in that high regard.
Big
And
respect.
it's a really nice relationship between them too. And it's really interesting later on in the story without spoiling.
Is
But
she like
he
one of
always
the? Is she like? So is she like younger than the main character, or is she older?
no, she's older, but she's like
Is she
she's
one of those characters that's actually like 1,000 years old?
No, she's
Or
like when they introduce her, she's like in her 30s, but she's just really short in stature, and they can live up to like 200 years old or something like that.
okay, so she's
So they
technically
live
like
like twice the
15.
human lifespan in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
world. But she's like in her 30s when she teaches Rudius. And then she's like in her 40s technically throughout the majority of the story.
Mm,
Um, but she always looks like this, and and she's a really very impactful character, I believe. I'd probably put her in mid B
mid B.
up there. I feel like she's up there. She's a great teacher, really cares about, you know, um, Rudius as a student and as a person, always thinks of him, and vice versa, he does for her.
All right, all right. Very cool. Very cool.
Who else we got?
Okay, let's get him out of the way. All my oh, whoops! I just
He's
messed up
so
the whole
powerful.
screen.
He like
He's yeah. All Might's thing is so powerful that he messed up the screen. Yeah.
okay.
Um. What can we say about him? Well, let's just say
Except
this.
you're welcome.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just say this. All Might's entire character arc revolves around him losing the identity of becoming a hero and becoming the identity of a father figure um slash slash teacher to Deku, right?
Yeah.
Uh however, we want to take in the whole story, right? So we're not going to do like where they end up, right? There's a specific character on this list where they end up S tier, right? However, what they say and what they do throughout the entire series, I think should count as their teaching through all, because a student is like a sponge, right? They soak up everything, they listen to everything, and they try to replicate what their teacher says or
You also,
does.
I mean, the results might be great, but you also gotta, keep in mind the what exactly was the teachings and the criteria,
Yeah,
how they were in execution is very integral.
yeah, no kidding. And I will say this. All Might is not a good teacher. He's bad,
Oh,
as a matter of fact. So there are two, right? There are the two alter egos. All Might is very much a comic book superhero. He has two alter egos, and it's All Might and Toshinori Yagi Toshinori, right? Yagi Toshinori is a great teacher. After he loses his superpowers, he dedicates his life to helping young Midoriya become the best superhero he can be, and gives him great lessons and great teachings. But that doesn't matter. At that point, it doesn't matter,
It's
The
very minimal. I think we were
yeah,
talking about like the most important like progression in Deku is like development in his power with One for All was not with him but with Gran Torino.
yeah, I
And
agree.
and some would say even Eraserhead has more does most of the weightlifting
He
for
does.
teaching wise.
He does. But yeah, and the thing is with All Might is that so in the beginning of the series, right, he gives him this, yes, he trains him. I would say the first two episodes, All Might is a pretty good teacher in terms of like weight building and stuff like that. But after he gives him One for All, he he doesn't just he doesn't
Who cares?
just
Like just wreck him.
he doesn't just like give it to him. He encourages him like to destroy his bones. Like he's like like in that scene where he basically like he does the little finger launch with the baseball. He's like, "Oh, Midoriya, so cool," and but Aizawa, who's an actually good teacher, is like, young Midoriya, or he doesn't say young Midoriya, but he says, Kid, this stuff is already getting
This is
old."
stupid. Stop.
He legit says it's already getting old. They're finger breaking. Like, it's stupid, you know. And then there's also something I also thought about, Edgar, is like the remember where he taught that class where they had like the fight and he let Bakugo and Deku like fight each other to the death? Do you
Dude,
remember
he's like,
that?
should we stop this? Nah, just let him blow up the building.
He's like, I should stop this as a teacher, but I want it to keep going for young Midoriya. And I'm like, what are you doing? This
Or
is
like,
so bad.
like, can you imagine if Deku and Bakugo didn't hold themselves back in their
Yeah.
second fight, and then once again, All Might like, hey Racer, let's let him fight, and then like
Yeah. Yeah, no
he does it
kidding.
again.
No kidding. So he's an awful, awful teacher. Not to mention that, but so we were talking about the weight of Toshinori Yagi and All Might. All Might has so much more influence over Deku than Toshinori does, right? So what has All Might's problem always been? That we've seen with people like Night Eye and Gran Torino. We've seen that he is very self-sacrificing. He is not afraid to get hurt, even if it saves one person. If it like he's basically killing himself until he gives his power to Deku, until he decides to stop and become a teacher. And he would have probably died if he didn't do that. But Deku took that, and as we're seeing in this arc, in the most recent arc in the anime, or what we will see, and I'm not going to spoil it, is that some of those teachings or those influences might come back to bite him later on in the future. And yeah, which is very, very interesting to see All Might suffering from seeing somebody doing the same things that he did. And he's like, man, maybe I shouldn't have done this. I'm thinking D, right?
He's the way to go.
Yeah. I think his teachings later on is great, and he's a good teacher. I mean, some of the great things that he does is, he teaches Kirishima, basically inspires him about his unbreakable red riot. He teaches Deku about Air Force and stuff like that. That stuff is great. But we haven't that stuff evens it out, and we haven't even touched about his favoritism. Like Midoriya immensely, Bakugo sometimes, but if I was a different student there, I would be ticked off. Like, how much teachings has Mineta gotten from All Might, right?
Yeah, none.
That is absurd, But yeah, he deserves to be in D. He's not a great teacher. If you're talking about characters, he's one of the best, but still. And as you're starting to see a something going around here. This line is me and Edgar talked about this before. This line is the harm your students line, where he's like, willingly put your students into danger.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of willingly putting your students into danger, Edgar, why do you take this one?
Yeah. Does he teach really like at all? Like, I mean, I know he
Yeah.
teaches like he tells them the bases, like this is what curse manipulation is, curse users, we do this and that. But
Yeah.
after that, I think it's fair to say that most of the stuff that the students learn that we see has pretty much been either off screen or self-taught, or they're like just naturally talented.
Yeah.
Um, and he's really reckless. He doesn't care if he puts them in danger. He literally like with 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 Maki and Yuta, he just sealed them off and like, all right, you guys got it. You guys
Yeah,
are good.
that is so dangerous. He's like, "Hey Yuta, you got this. No biggie. You know, you'll get it."
Yeah.
Which is just so immensely dangerous. I will say, and not only that, like where he put Itadori, Megumi, and Nobara in that like school in that jail. Right, with that like high grade, and if it wasn't for Sukuna, they definitely would have died. You know,
Yeah.
um, but he does teach some great things. And I mean, obviously, like we should talk about if their students like reach the upper echelons, right? Because something that a student should or a teacher should always do is want their student to be better than they were, and that's all Gojo wants. Is he wants his students to be the upper echelon, and we know people like Maki, people like Yuta, people like Itadori and Megumi, they're all the upper echelons of their trainings, you know. Um, and even like when we talked about the power system of Jujutsu Kaisen, his chaos is like a perfect teacher for it. But we also talked about that maybe Nanami is a better teacher than
That's what
Gojo.
I was saying. Manami just does. It feels like he's more there in terms of like what he does to Yuji's philosophy and like fine tuning the things that he already knows, and that in the end helps him out
Yeah.
immensely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
See,
I would say top of C, just because he has taught, like there was that he does get a lot of flashbacks where like they listen to his teachings and then they end up winning the fight, or like there was that one scene where he tells Megumi about like the home run and stuff, and he's like, "Why are you always behind Itadori? It's because you never go for the home run like me or him." Um, so yeah, let's jump now into Yami, the leader of the Black Bulls from Black
yeah,
Clover.
I'm trying to remember because like technically like when it comes to these senseis, there's always like a curriculum, school, academy, like dojo type learning area.
Yeah,
Um, or like you know what I mean?
a
But he's not
school, a dojo, I agree with
yeah,
you.
like he's not
A
inherently like
workplace. Yeah,
teaching
yeah,
them like, all right, guy, Black Bulls, we're gonna learn or at least pretend to learn, because like it's more like a Magic Knight squads. You know your stuff,
yeah.
you better, because you're
Yeah.
just placed here
He
now.
really does throw all the people in there, right? I
Yeah,
I do think, in my opinion, Yami is the best character in Black Clover. I don't think he's
yeah,
the
he's one of the
best.
coolest. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think he's my favorite personally, but I think like he's not the best teacher on the planet. I put him in here just because he taught Asta about ki.
he,
Yeah.
he's very integral,
Mhm.
like very important to what Austin needs to be
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
be the
yeah.
best. He's kind of reminds me of Zoro if you think
Yeah,
of it. He's like a Zoro. He's like a copy paste Zoro,
I agree.
but
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, and we've
Um,
we've talked about this before, that we think Yami, he's less of a teacher and more of a leader. He
yeah.
inspires a lot of people. He does get a lot of flashbacks, but it's more about him inspiring them. Like we get all the flashbacks of him asking people to join the Bulls and how it changed their lives for the better. You know.
Isn't
Um
there a moment like either in the very beginning or in the water temple where he gives some advice to like Noelle or something like that? If I'm correct.
yeah, yeah, he does. I think that
Yeah,
is at the water temple. Yeah, you're absolutely
yeah.
right.
Something like that. He's there, but he's pretty reckless and doesn't mind if uh I don't know where
Does
to
he?
put
But
him. He's kind of a
does he self harm his student? Does not self harm, but does he harm it?
I think he
Does
actually hurts him. Like he
Yeah,
punches
he does. He
Oscar like
punches. He holds Asta like on the head like this,
yeah,
and Asta's like ah. Like what he's it's so stupid.
Yeah, but he does want to protect his, you know,
Of course, he
his
would
squad
never
mate.
like harm them, but
No,
still,
yeah, yeah.
I would put him in C.
Yeah, low C, yeah.
Yeah, let's see. He's a little man. He's a
Little
little
man.
man.
Little
Just
bit
like
man.
just like Kakashi.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's gonna be interesting. Reigen Arataka, the leader of the new spiritual world. What you saying, Edgar?
This is like one end or the complete opposite because like
Yeah.
he's like the definition of not gray character, but like in terms of like where he stands and like how he does his stuff.
Mm.
He's a scam artist, you know.
Yeah.
He's a he's a um he's like Slippin' Jimmy. He's
He is. He is like Slip and
Better Call
Jimmy.
Saul. Like
It's Slip and Jimmy, but I think if Jimmy had Mob, I think Jimmy would do better as well. You know,
yeah,
because like his life was going down the Slip and Jimmy route, but he
yeah,
found Mob, and it got better. Um,
yeah.
if we're talking about character, S tier. It's hard to find a better written character. To be honest, Mob is just full of amazingly written characters, but it's
Yeah.
hard to find a character with just as much charisma. Like if you told me at the beginning that this guy basically scams a little kid to work for him, right? I'd be like, what the heck? Like this guy sounds awful, but he's a
Child
really
Protection
great
Services.
guy.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
child
And
labor law.
and remember at the beginning, I said that we're doing it overall, right? For everything they say, everything that they do as a teacher or tell their student is being put under a microscope here. Where he ends up, he's a great sensei, a great master. He's fantastic to Mob. But there are some moments, and Edgar, you touched on this even during our Mob Psycho review, where he said some things like in season 2 that he really shouldn't have said, you know.
Like I think out of all these characters, he's the only one that actively said negative like advice. I don't know what
Negative
it was, but he
advice.
basically
Yeah.
said don't get involved in like extracurricular clubs. You don't need friends. You just work for me and whatever
Mm.
not. Like he's the only one to give like the opposite of advice. And
Yeah.
I was like, dude, like what are you doing,
Yeah.
man? Like
And if Mob
like
listened, like that would hurt his character.
yeah. And he is a great character, but like that's like the one thing we got to keep in mind. We're really analyzing how they are as a teacher, and that's like
Mhm.
not a great thing. And you could put him in D or you can put him in E or maybe S or A. I just
Yeah.
want to put him in B or C
I
somewhere.
agree. I think B is a fair, like I think he's like I think that his stuff that he says that's really bad is really, really bad. But the stuff that he says when it's really good is just so insightful and perfect for Mob that I think it's like, I think the good outweighs the bad in there.
Think, and I also think my argument against putting him any higher is that out of all of these senseis, they've actually taught something like not really within their power system because like if
Yeah.
you look at like Kuro Sensei, there isn't a power system there, but he is teaching his kids like assassination skills and like
Mm.
physical abilities like that. And whereas Reagan doesn't really teach Mob anything of psychic abilities, so
Yeah.
he's giving him a lot of advice in terms of like philosophy, morality, and how to be, how to get ahead in life. But is he really teaching like
But
in
I
terms
mean
of that?
the power system of Mob is not really like the main focus. So
No, yeah, but like, how is he as a teacher in that sense? Of like, compared to
true.
all these other characters, like, how are they? That's just my criteria. But I'm fine putting him where he is right
Sure.
now.
Sure. Yeah. I agree. The reason why I think like I hope people don't click on this and they're like, "Oh, Reagan and B dislike," because it's like, come on guys, like we love Reagan Arataka, obviously. Like I've thought about naming my kid Reagan. I love him so much,
You think we would
right?
be ranking as characters
Yeah.
Roshi above Reagan?
Yeah,
Like,
come on, dog. But we do have to take into account when he told Mob, you just gotta work for me, or when he told him like he even calls him like a loner at times, or he goes like, God, you're
yeah,
so
Jesus,
awkward,
yeah, he
you
had such a
know?
toxic like mentality in that like few episodes, and I'm like,
Yeah. But it's like obviously if we were just grading on season 3, S tier. Like, he's a great teacher, he's a great mentor there, but it's just sometimes his ego gets in his way. But the reason why I think he's not in C is because he actively wants to protect Mob at all costs, right? He does not
Yeah.
want Mob to get in any danger whatsoever. So he's above the I throw my students into active danger, like into an active volcano life,
Yeah.
right? This one's interesting. Urodaki from Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
Um,
Brief, but integral. Very
yeah.
like for one of the first new characters we meet. Retired Hashira.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he has a bad
Resume?
resume.
He's
Yeah,
got a
as
bad
in like
CV.
I've only had 2 students survive the
Yeah.
Demon Slayer like recruitment whatever exam
Is
like
he
whatever that is.
is he less of a teacher and more of a trainer? Because he gets Tanjiro gets taught by his 2 dead students, right?
Yeah, cause I mean he was like training him physically and like this is what you gotta do. This is how you kill demons, whatnot.
Mm.
And basically he like one of his last I think his last like task was to cut down a rock using his sword.
Yeah.
And he's like, "How am I gonna do this?" And basically left them to his own, like he just figure it out. And then like if it wasn't for like those 2 ghosts,
How did the other kids figure it out? Like,
I don't know. I think that I mean I mean they were in the same group as Gyu, so it goes to say that I think canonically, Sabito, the guy ghost, the one with the orange hair ish, I think he's technically if he was alive still, he would
mm.
be more powerful than Gyu is. uh,
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
demon slayer. So they're a gifted, really gifted group,
And I
and
think
each
isn't it
their own talents.
canonical that Gyu got out because that guy saved him? Was
I
that
don't know if
the
that's been said
explanation?
before. I don't know if that's been mentioned in the manga
Yeah.
yet, or if that's just a side note that was mentioned outside of the manga. I don't
I don't
know.
know. I don't
But that
remember.
is true. That is true.
Yeah. So he did teach, Tanjiro and Giyu. But man, his ratio is so bad. Like when Tanjiro comes back, he's like, "Oh, oh, no way." He's like, "Let's
One
go."
lived,
He's like, "Let's go." He's like, "I'm
but he does.
33 for 2. Awesome." And obviously
He
he
does.
cares about his students, but
Yeah, he really does.
he does send them. And I guess it's not him. But I mean, like, here's the thing about like all these teachers, right? Like, none of their students have died. Like all these people over here. I don't even think any of these people's students have died.
Well, I think in terms of like when you're comparing their power system to what they're facing against, they
Mhm.
have a really bad stance and a
Yeah,
foothold in that.
that is
Like it's
true.
probably the most dangerous out of all of them. Because
That
at
is
least
true.
you have Gojo's like he holds the world in balance in the palm of his
Yeah,
hand,
look at
and
this
All
cheeky.
Might
Look at
was
this cheeky
too.
dude. He's like
And
He's so stupid.
Hashira's the top of their game can like
Mhm.
barely make a dent, so they're
That's right.
always on a fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah.
So like I kind of can't blame him, but he does have that not so good streak.
Yeah.
Um,
I
I
would
put him C maybe.
I'd put him C as well. It's hard to put him I would put him top of C. It's hard to put him in B with so many dead students, right? Like, I understand about the
He also doesn't have that moment of like he doesn't really teach anything super like essential to Tanjiro to remember. I mean, he teaches him all the basics in the sense, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, he basically just trains him to be like more
Physically
to be
capable,
physically capable of taking those Hashira powers, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Apparently, all the spells and waters and stuff like that is all imaginary. It's so stupid. Anyways,
That's not true. I don't believe that. I
that's
hate that
I
fact.
hate that so much. I saw a comment like we talked about this a long time ago, and a comment was like, come on, you guys, it's not that bad." And I'm like, "No, it's bad. I hate it. I
Yeah.
hate it. I hate it."
It doesn't make any sense. Like,
Yeah. All right. Next we have King Kai
hey,
from
recognize
Dragon
him.
Ball Z. So
Yeah.
I talked about how except for GT, we have a major sensei from all of the Dragon Balls because GT doesn't really have one. Not that I would put him in
No, they
here.
do. Ben just doesn't want to show it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say Goku was with Pan, but man, that is such a stretch. That is such a stretch. Anyways, but King Kai. So King Kai, he's really more of, I would say, a trainer than he is a sensei. I mean, he's definitely the most buddy buddy with Goku, right? Because Goku always goes back to his planets, as we've seen with Battle of Gods. Like, he's always on the planet hanging out with King Kai and always doing some workout, right? Um, he also trained Goku to get to Super Saiyan 3. That's how he's able to come back in the Buu Saga and get Super Saiyan 3. But of course, the big things that he's taught him was the Kaioken, the Spirit Bomb that he used to beat Vegeta. But then technically, Goku didn't even beat Vegeta in that fight. Like, he barely got out of it alive. So I don't think he's the best teacher on the planet. Especially since later on he becomes more of like exposition fodder. Like, he's like, "Oh, you don't know who Beerus the God of Destruction is? Let me tell you." You know, "Oh, you don't know who Frieza is? Goku, don't fight him." You know, but I think,
Yeah, that went well.
yeah, that. Oh no, Goku fought both of them. Like,
No, I know,
yeah.
right?
But I think that, I don't know. But then there's also the fact that he basically taught, because apparently, I mean, I know this, but Tien, Piccolo, and Yamcha went to this planet to train, and he didn't teach them any of his techniques. He only taught Goku. I think that's a complete slip up by Akira Toriyama, in my opinion. But from his storytelling. But I don't know. I think King Kai is a low B. Not because he's bad, but because he's like, I think that he's just not. I just don't think he's the best teacher on the planet. He's a great character, but I just think the things that he taught, like the Kaioken never takes down a big villain, and the Spirit Bomb only works once. Like it doesn't kill Frieza, it doesn't kill Vegeta, and the only person it kills is Buu. You know, and that's the last thing that happens in the series in Dragon Ball Z. So yeah, I would put him in B. But yeah. So this character, nobody really calls him master or teacher, but you can't deny that he teaches everybody everything.
He teaches us, the audience.
Yes, agreed.
The Bill Nye of anime.
He
as
is
everyone
the
says.
Bill Nye of anime. Why? If I was a science teacher, all I would play is Dr. Stone.
Dude, I would hate doing what it takes to be a science teacher, but
Yeah.
man, would I love to be like, all right, guys, we're watching
We're
Dr.
watching
Stone.
this. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
man.
What more is there to say? He's a really, really good teacher. You know, he
Yeah, but
teaches
I mean,
everyone
is he
everything.
teaching or is he just like, we won't survive if we do
Yeah.
this, so I might as well just like.
True. Or
He's like kind of unintentionally
yeah.
teaching in a sense.
And you've brought up before that Senku at a certain point isn't teaching, and he's just kind of explaining the gist of things, right?
Yeah, because he's not gonna explain how he's building like
a cell phone, you know.
yeah, like he's not like I mean he does, but you know what I mean? Like no one can keep up except maybe Chrome to
Yeah.
actually learn what's going on.
Yeah, because Senku's like, it's just that easy. But then there's like a whole bunch of stuff that he just doesn't explain, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of like little stuff that he teaches, I would say that he teaches people, you know, a lot of like basic science really well, you know, like people like Kahaku, people like Gen, people like Magma, people like Taiju, and of course Chrome. They all have like flashbacks of what Senku says, you know, in terms of like science, and it all helps them get out of some sticky situations, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, where you reckon, Edgar?
B somewhere.
High B, right?
What?
High B?
High B, yeah, around where Reagan or Roxy is. Because he doesn't. I mean, he's not your normal teacher role. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. You pick where to put him on B.
I'll put him at the top of B just because, like, even though he's taught me so many things about science that I had no idea about. That's why I'll give him that. You know. Um, but yeah, he doesn't really inflict a new philosophy on these people. He doesn't really. He doesn't. He's not like. He is, of course, like the whole thing of is him teaching, but could Kohaku build a cell phone after? No, like there's no
No.
way. And Senku isn't really there to teach, so it's not really his fault. But yeah. All right, next one we have Shota
I thought he
Aizawa.
was giving. I thought he was giving me the middle finger.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
When did that
It's
picture happen?
that
That's like
picture
the first season,
was
right?
yeah, this is the first season. This design definitely looks like first season Aizawa. Um,
Yeah.
he's definitely gotten a little bit more beautiful as the series has gone on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, what do you reckon? Definitely better than All Might, right?
Oh no, yeah. No question.
Yeah,
He definitely goes above the sea level because he definitely reprimands his students. I mean, his students are in danger, but if he can control it, he's like, no dice. If you like do
yeah,
anything stupid or reckless, I'm gonna expel you. Or like, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. And
Def
he does expel like his whole class basically. Like that's a whole thing in the first season is that this guy will expel you. But his reasoning for it is really good. What we learn later on is that he's basically saying like these students act like they're invincible, so I give them a first death so that they realize how that is, and then I give them a second chance, which I just think is just such a good teacher's philosophy and teacher's thinking. I would say, other than maybe Kuro Sensei, I would say he's probably the best teacher on here, right? Um,
I think I put him somewhere in A, but I think
yeah,
he is missing that integral, you know, inspirational callback moment to something that he teaches specifically.
specifically to the
Um,
main character, right?
yeah, to Deku, because
Yeah,
he's teaching a class of like a lot of students, but I feel like not Toshinori,
did
Gran
it?
Torino still
Yeah,
has that leg up on him, and look, this is what you need to do. This is what like, blah 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 blah. But in terms of like the ideal teacher, very responsible, worth ethic, and like
hmm
cares about his students and wants them to improve, and is really good with discipline. He has like all 10 points for that,
yeah.
you know?
It's really hard to like judge him on like teaching Deku as well because he had no idea what Deku's quirk was. You know, like he was like, "What are you, kid?" you know, and Deku doesn't even ever explain it. He's kind of like, "Oh, my power is just kind of like a buildup of like power, and then whoosh whoosh," and then he gets
You know,
another
like
quirk, and he's like, "What the heck are you?" you know?
big big plot hole is like in My Hero World is like how like in real life school, all right, you need to have this vaccine and we need to know everything there is to know about you to get into the school. While here's someone like, oh, you don't know what your quirk is? Who cares? I'm like,
Yeah.
like you
I remember
can't.
Deku was like, "Oh yeah, I just registered it like at the Cork registry." It's like, "Oh, whoops, I forgot I had. I guess I had one all along." And it's like that is
What is
so
it now? What
stupid.
is it like?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they just have no idea. Cuz everybody like has a name for their quirk. So like don't you think it would be really weird to go up to school and everybody's like, "What is your quirk?" And he's like, "I have no
Well, then,
idea."
then
Do you think that's a little bit fishy? But anyway, Aizawa's a great teacher, especially for like he was a great teacher. Like I think one of his highlights is definitely how he treated Momo's insecurities in season 3, or season 2, end of season 2.
yeah.
With that where her and Shoto had to work together. Very
I
impressive, I think.
Strongest impression of me as a teacher is like once again like how he handles, his rules and like, look,
hmm
if you do this, this is what's gonna happen. And I said it before, and it's gonna happen. It's like when in season 3, like after the incident in with the fight with All Might and All For One, he said if it wasn't for All Might's retirement, I'd be expelling every one of you except for like two people.
Yeah,
And like he meant it
he
because
did.
he was serious about like no like reckless hero without you don't have any license. You're not ready to do this.
Yeah,
And
your
I was
your
like, wow,
children, right?
yeah.
yeah. Basically, yeah, that's absolutely crazy to where the series has gone from that point on. It's insane.
He's like, we're all
Um,
gonna die. Let's just do
yeah,
it.
and I love. Oh man, in season 4, he's great as well. When like Uraraka is like, "Oh, I want to save those people," and Aizawa gives him some word of encouragement, and Aizawa basically has to give Deku the go ahead to like be a hero in season 4 because he's like I don't want you fighting, but then he's like everybody's down and dead, so Deku go ham, I guess. Like, jeez, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so this one fit my criteria, right? He's called Master like a billion
Um.
times in the series. Uh,
uh,
but
E
he, yeah. Edgar, why
or
don't you
F
take this
maybe
one?
like because he doesn't teach anything. Geno's like master. He's like
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, he's like
He's like
he's like whatever. And he
stop
also
calling me
does
that.
like harm to Genos too. Like he like like he puts him in danger. you
Well, like
know.
he comes at the last minute of everything, and like, I mean, he just like he does not teach a single thing because he's like, why are
Yeah.
you here? You want me
He's
to be
more
your
of like
sensei?
roommates with Genos. It's super weird that he still
He's
calls
like,
him
oh, you cook
master.
and clean. All right, you can stay here if you want. You can just I don't care.
Yeah,
Like,
he's like instead of teaching him, he's like, "Oh man, there's a sale going on at the store, and like we gotta get there soon." You know.
yeah.
You said there was a recent part in the manga where he had a little bit of a teacher moment.
Well, there's a person. I mean, I don't know if it's a teacher moment. I don't remember exactly what was said, but there's just
Mm.
a nice moment just between Genos and Saitama in terms of like effort. I really glossed over it just because of how amazing the artwork. Because the artwork, I was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. What?
Yeah.
Oh, word? I don't care. But there was a nice moment. But as a teacher, he really doesn't do anything. So I think E is a fair rating. He's not like
Okay.
awful, but he just doesn't teach in general.
Yeah, sure,
Yet
sure, sure.
Genos always calls him master, and like you know what I mean,
Yeah,
like
no, definitely, definitely. All right. We have Coach Ukai from Haikyuu
teaching the power system of
of
volleyball.
volleyball. Yes, sir. The most powerful power system of all. Um,
Yeah,
what can we
the
say
only real
about
one.
Coach Ukai? He is a great coach. Um, I think he's more of a coaching is a different form of teaching, right? It's kind of like guiding. It's more like guiding your students into the right tactics and all that stuff. Uh,
Yeah,
Coach Ukai, he doesn't really teach Hinata. Like even when he's really great at pointing Hinata in the right direction, right? When Hinata needs a change, he drives to his grandfather and then that Coach Ukai teaches him.
yeah,
Um which I think is points to him for realizing that, but he didn't
yeah. He knows how to
teach Hinata.
utilize
Yeah.
students and putting them in the game when they need to be in.
Yeah, exactly. But I would say the most of the improvements of the players come from, I would say, probably the in-game experience that they receive.
Talent.
Probably
Yeah,
Coach Ukai, and
yeah,
then I would probably say when they're at those camps, right? When Hinata's at the camp with the older coach, the younger
yeah,
coach, and then Kageyama when he's at the U17's training camp or something like that.
yeah.
But yeah, but Coach Ukai, he has said a couple of words of really like enlightenment, like don't underestimate what it takes to be a ball boy. Like basically listen, watch, and learn, and you'll become a better player for it. I think that he is a good teacher, but he's a fantastic coach, but he's a good teacher, I would say.
Yeah,
Um,
he's more he's like more in the high end spectrum in terms of a leadership role than he is an
yeah,
instructor.
yeah, definitely. Um,
Yeah.
we didn't really talk about this, right? But I wanted to touch up on that. We talked about Kakashi leading this kind of new generation of shonen, trainers and senseis, and we see it with Coach Ukai, with Gojo Sensei, with even Reigen, where these younger dudes who are,
Uh,
you know,
kind of. I mean, he's
yeah,
yeah, like just like cool guys like
Mhm.
with a past and
Yeah.
like,
Who
experience.
yeah, cool younger guys who like just experienced what it is to be like a younger guy. So they might be the perfect person to teach them, right?
Yeah.
Because even in my industry, like it's really hard to take some notes from like 45-year-olds who got into the industry in like the 90s or 80s, and you're just like, well, like it's a completely different time getting into the industry, at this day and time. So I think that the way that they're doing this is great. So what are we saying? I would say high B, right? Yeah, I'd go with high B. We'll just say he's in high B because I don't want to rearrange all those people.
Yeah.
All right.
Who we got left?
We have Weiss. We have
Weiss.
Weiss from Weiss. I thought you said
West.
Weast.
Yeah. East.
That's West, Patrick. uh, let's. So here's the thing with Weiss. Weiss is a great teacher, I think. Edgar, you can actually talk about this because you've seen
Yeah,
most of
he's in the
his.
Dragon Ball Super series, right?
Yeah, he is. He is the angel to Lord Beerus, and we did see him train Goku and Vegeta in
Super.
Resurrection F. Remember that awesome movie?
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
dude.
But that, in my opinion, is the best part of the film. Is when he's training Goku and Vegeta, because he lays down the frameworks from Ultra Instinct, which is the second best transformation in the series, or at least what I think is, which is very impressive from a writing standpoint since SS2 and SS3, yeah, sometimes SS4, but we don't talk about GT here, a lot of people love. But I would say that he's very similar to Silvers or Biscuit in that he is really teaches in short stints, but when he does, it completely changes the outlook of the series, right? He teaches God Ki to Goku and Vegeta. He teaches Master Ultra Instinct to Goku. And yeah, he even trained Beerus, which, like, he trained Beerus, which is like, he's the strongest being in the universe, at least from what we know, at this point.
I think his only hindrance is that he's indifferent to whether a planets explode or not.
Yeah, I mean, but that's his job,
Yeah, I
like
know. Yeah,
like that doesn't have to do much about teaching, but I mean,
yeah, you're right.
that's more his institution. But I would say he's definitely an A from what we've seen. Um, but yeah, I mean, he does harm Goku and Vegeta. But here's the difference between this one and these guys is that these guys, he knows Goku and Vegeta won't get hurt, and if they do die, they'll just wish him back with the Dragon Balls. So it's like, come on, yeah,
We live in the Dragon Ball verse. No one
yeah,
dies in here.
exactly. Okay, Edgar, I do want to add one more character since
Hey.
we talked about him so much. Let's talk about Gran
Ah!
Torino. Let's talk about Gran Torino. Edgar, why don't you
My
talk a little
hero.
bit about him? Obviously, Yoda inspired, right?
Yeah.
Um, and playing into the tropes of Horikoshi and Star Wars.
Yeah.
Um,
While Eraser fits the more modern shonen type sensei, he
mhm,
fits the older school sensei. Not just because he's older, um, just because he is that. Oh, he's buff, or he's just super strong, and like
mhm,
surprisingly is like very, very good at his job
yeah.
for his age. Um, I would put him just above Eraser because he basically the only thing that I'd put him above or at B because he's isn't in there as long, but what he does
Mhm.
is very, very important
I agree
to
with
that
you.
character.
You could make an actual argument for S, because didn't he train All Might, the like best superhero on the planet?
Yeah, but he also, I mean, you could argue that he didn't train what's her face, right?
No, I don't think so. No,
Oh, I
she,
was gonna say
yeah,
he's technically as that has partial fault to the creation of
of
uh,
Shigaraki. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
So like that's
but was that his? I guess it was kind of his choice. Like he could have stopped
yeah.
it, but I mean, I don't know.
And would you
Is that
say that all the training that he did with All Might specifically is like all good? Because I feel like that's still something that he could have tweaked on more as a
Yeah,
teacher. Because
maybe
All Might
trying
is
to
pretty
touch
reckless.
maybe trying to touch more on his self-sacrifice side. Yeah, I
I
don't
feel like he improved upon his
yeah.
learning skills when you got to Deku, and then
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I probably put him on. I put him on A. I feel like he isn't as he's impactful with the power system and for the plot and for Deku, but he isn't as inspirational or has that more caring leadership figure like Eraser is.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. I do think he is like in terms of what we've seen him do, I do think he's just above Eraser. But I think that might be because he's just so good with like one-on-one training, right? Like he teaches Deku almost immediately, I would say. And,
He
and
basically knows what the problem is and he fixes
yeah.
it.
And I mean, that might be because he trained All Might for many years and
And
he
he
knows all
leads
one
him
for
towards
all.
Night Eye. Like
Yeah. Oh, and he leads him towards Night Eye. That is absolutely correct.
yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, he is very protective of Deku. Like he tells him constantly, "Get out of here. You know, you need to run away." Stuff like that. So he is
yeah.
very protective. Um, it also like there's every time I harken back to Gran Torino, I harken back to that scene where All Might does like the clever hand trick against All for One, and that's how he wins. And All for One's like clever trick. That's so unlike you. Still weak though. And then you see All Might's like hand decrease, and it like pans to Gran Torino, and he goes like this, and you can tell that he knows what he's going to do because he's such a good teacher that he was like, yeah, I taught him that, like to
Yeah.
get out of that's so good. Man, my hero was so good.
I was
It
thinking the
still
same
is.
with
It still is,
Haikyuu
but
when you were
yeah.
talking about Kochukai and you were explaining what happened. I'm like, man, I really liked Haikyuu when I was watching it. Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
still like it, but season 3 to beginning of season 4, like I was really into it.
Yeah,
Um,
Haikyuu in season 3 is like, it is so good, man.
yeah,
Um, but I
yeah, that's
mean,
pretty much it.
I'm talking more. I think the story of MHA and the manga arguably got better, but it's the animation that we're talking about. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, this is our complete shonen list. I think this is
Let's just
everybody.
quickly go from bottom to top. Just list them off what we have.
Sure. So at our bottom we have Saitama. He didn't really he doesn't really do much, in
E,
terms of teaching. S tier character. I love Saitama. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, D is All Might, constantly putting young Midoriya in awful safety precaution positions.
not good at teaching. Like,
Yeah, not good at teaching until he loses his powers. Obviously, we're just talking about Toshinori Yagi, which we can see in the
oh, plus
background here.
ratio. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yami, not really a teacher, more of a leader. But what he does teach is very good. But he himself harms his students. So, speaking of harming his students, we have Frankenstein, who
yeah,
basically puts shock therapy on his students.
yeah.
Then we have Gojo Sensei, who I think is a great teacher, but has just so much shady methods.
The embodiment of nah, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And at the end, he always goes, "Yes, all according to my plan." And I'm like, "What are you
Yeah,
talking about? Like they could have died." Anyway, then we have Urudaki, who's is a great trainer, I would say, but his
but
CV
bad streak of
of
L's.
dead children, yeah,
Yeah,
that's not fun. Then we have Coach Ukai, who is just
IQ.
above the hurt my children or hurt my students line. If we moved him down here, Haikyuu would be a very different show,
Yeah, very.
about an abusive coach. um, yeah. We have King Kai,
From
who
Dragon Ball.
who
Yeah,
is a great trainer, but he doesn't really all the techniques that he teaches kind of fall flat on their face.
yeah.
Um, then we have Reigen Arataka, who, once
Mob
again,
Psycho.
we have
Yeah,
to say this, at the end of season 3 is probably A or S tier. But the awful things that he tells Mob, like, we're lucky that Mob is able to kind of filter that stuff out. But it's a whole thing of Mob Psycho is that nobody is perfect. So, like, Reigen writing is amazing. And I think all of Mob is just amazing writing. but Reagan as a teacher, he evens out to a B. Then we have
Roxy from
Roxy.
Restricted Tensei.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why is Roxy in B, Edgar?
Cause she's a goat. No, cause she's
Okay,
very
let's move on. No,
influential
just
to
kidding.
Rudy, to the main. Cause she's very influential to the main character, and she introduces like basic core aspects of what the power system is,
Mm,
and constantly wants to improve upon herself, and is very important to Rudius, and he calls back to her on what, what she's taught him, not just in like what to do with magic, but as a person, and he
yeah,
always holds her in high regard as a master.
yeah. Okay,
We
Edgar,
have
why don't
Senku.
you take the rest of the top? I've talked a lot
Yeah.
about the bottom.
No, you're good. We have Senku from Dr. Stone. Unintentionally a good teacher. Not a lot of people can keep up with him. He has, proteges like, Chrome. Uh, but, he does his best to explain what's going on as he tries to survive in the stone world.
Mhm.
And then we have Whis, practically a god, and, the
He's an
in Dragon
angel.
Ball Z
Yes.
Super. Is he a god
He's
or
an
angel or
angel.
what?
Yes, he's an
Angel.
angel,
All
which is
right.
different. They're kind of like the protectors of the gods. So yeah.
Is he the
Whis
strongest in
is
his
stronger
universe?
than Beerus. Yes. Whis is
Yeah.
stronger than Beerus. Yes.
Oh wow. So yeah, he's teaching Goku and Vegeta and taught is he technically teaching Broly as well?
Yeah, he has. He is. He is.
Yeah,
At least
he's
from what
like
we've seen in the last movie. Yeah.
does a lot for the power system and for the plot in terms of that. Eraser, great teacher all around, has to manage a bunch of delinquent students and has very good discipline, principles, and cares about his students and would put himself in harm's way for their safety. And we have Gran Torino, who did more for the plot and power system, and specifically focus on Deku and helped him out and when he needs to be to handle One
Mm.
for All and as a hero.
Arguably,
Uh,
if Gran Torino was in the teaching position, other than All Might, Deku might have already had 100% when he was fighting
Dude,
like Shihei
all the
Saikai.
students might have been like the best of the best.
Yeah,
Like,
no kidding. Yeah, no kidding.
and then I forgot his name, Ben from One
Oh,
Piece.
Silver's Rayleigh. Yes.
Silver's Rayleigh, yeah, essential to the plot. Apparently, does like the most important thing ever in terms of introducing a new power system,
Yeah.
and then dips.
If you're
Is the first sensei we see in One
yeah,
Piece. I haven't even gotten to
yeah,
him yet. I'm just surprised that it takes this long to see a
yeah.
sensei figure in One Piece. Like,
If you're interested in seeing how Edgar reacts to Silver's Rayleigh, Edgar is one arc away to meeting this
yeah, I'm still in
character.
Thriller Bark,
So yeah, he's
almost
on
there.
Thriller Bark right now, so it's gonna be fascinating to see.
We have Bisky from Hunter x Hunter. Basically, she does the same thing with as Silver's what's his name?
Silver's Rayleigh.
Silver's Rayleigh.
Just say
Basically does the
Silver's, yeah.
same thing. Um like introduce absolutely integral to like what to the plot and to the power system.
Hmm.
And she reoccurs again as a main character. As a supporting character every now and then, and cares about. I mean, she kind of like hits her students and like puts them through like the rigor into like through the real training, like hardcore training and like tests, but ultimately cares about their safety and says, "Look, if you don't do this, you're gonna die,
Mm.
or if you keep doing this, you're gonna put your friends in harm's way."
Mm.
So she's a great teacher in that sense. Kakashi, absolute icon, probably the face along with Roshi in terms of like what a sensei is and like typical anime sensei master like figures. We don't know that much about him, but we've seen enough and have been spoiled enough to see what he is and how important he is to the story of Naruto and how he is to his students. Koro Sensei, absolute goat from Assassination's Classroom, the embodiment of what a teacher should be, not just like in the anime standards, but in real life. And Master Roshi, probably like I don't know. I haven't seen enough old anime, but he's
Mm.
like probably the first to start it off.
Yeah.
At least the first character to really popularize old sensei is awesome, is
Yeah.
strong, changes the game, what he is for the main character,
Yeah.
and
The reason
to
why
go.
I put Roshi like at the tippy top is because I cannot think of a single moment where he was a bad teacher or gave bad advice. Yeah, there are times where he's pervy, but he always, like, even for characters like Tien Shinhan, in Dragon Ball, he gives great advice to. Like he is all round in Dragon Ball, and I think in all of anime and shonen, like the teacher. Like he is like knows exactly what to say, knows exactly what to teach, and exactly
Yeah.
what to tell his students when they need it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, this is a good list. A fair
Yeah.
list, I believe.
Fair
Yeah, I
list.
feel like
I
most
agree.
people would agree. This is pretty cool. Hopefully, it doesn't cause too much dilemma and trauma in the
Hey man,
comments.
it's a tier list, and anytime you put like a preference in anime, it's always going to get some backlash. So
Yeah.
that's just how it is.
Yeah, but
But
if you
tier
guys
lists are
think
fun.
that we
Yeah.
missed a few, or if you feel like some should be included, just let us know in the comments. If you like tier lists, we're welcome to any ideas, and we have plenty of more. In the works. Ben has a My Hero tier list working coming up, so check that
That
out on
one's
the
gonna
YouTube
be
channel.
big. that one,
Yeah,
that
I don't
one,
even know
that
what it is
one's gonna
about.
to,
Like,
gonna be a three-parter.
oh
It's
Jesus.
yeah, it's gonna be about quirks, but we're
Oh,
gonna
okay,
split it up
yeah, we
into
haven't
three
done a quirk
parts. So
tier
yeah,
list that we did with One Piece
yeah.
and their power
But we're
system,
gonna
but
do it like in this setup, and we're gonna do it like in person. It's gonna be
yeah,
awesome.
it won't
Yeah,
be in webcam, but
yeah,
on the Manga Monday show, we'll be back in person if you're watching on YouTube, but it'll pretty much be the same thing on if you're listening on audio only.
Hmm.
We'll just be back to your typical, anime and manga news and, typical hot topics, but we're welcome to keep doing this fun stuff for you guys
yeah.
on the Manga Monday show. As always, we like being there for you weekly, and we'll try to be, up to date this
Hey man,
time.
life happens sometimes.
Yeah. Next week, or at least next episode, at least, we'll have a review for Sword Art Online Progressive that we saw. Quick little review, and I think I might just give my own spiel of the Kaguya-sama Love is War. Well, actually, no, I can't because Ben. I don't want to spoil Ben. I'll probably
Yes,
just
we
do
might
that by
have you
myself.
record a individual
Yeah,
video.
yeah, yeah.
We'll get
Yeah, I'll
you.
do
We'll
that
get you.
myself on the YouTube channel
Mm.
for a review of Love is War film, First Kiss Never Ends. And then Ben, like next month, we're gonna be seeing the premiere of episode 1 of season 3,
Oh yes.
Demon Slayer. There's a lot of anime films. We've already
Yeah,
seen a lot.
I
Like,
know. It's crazy.
yeah.
It is
There's a
crazy.
lot to look forward to. Click follow, click subscribe, check us out on YouTube. If you're listening on audio, if you just don't like looking at our faces, just stay on Spotify. I don't like looking at my face either. Um, but nonetheless, anime manga content will be here for you, provided by us, the Manga Monday Show.
Heck yeah.
My name's Edgar,
My name's Ben.
and we'll see you next week.
Bye bye.